In this episode, I dive into intense subject matters that may not be suitable for all audiences. I discuss sensitive topics including mental health, trauma, addiction, crimes against children, and women that some listeners might find triggering. If you are sensitive to these subjects, please take care of yourself while listening. Your well being is priority. Tune in, but proceed with caution. They were all on their last legs. I didn't give a damn who I was with. I mean, we're all dying sooner or later. Hi, friends. My name is Verona, and I'm here to tell you a story. I upload once a week, and today I'm going to tell you the story of Gilbert Paul Jordan, the boozing barber. So let's dive into this roller coaster ride. Hang on to your hats. It's a doozy this week. Let's get started. Gilbert Paul Jordan was born December 12th, 1931, in Vancouver, British Columbia. Gilbert was the second child of Jack and Winifred Elsie. Winifred's actually a really dope name. So if anybody knows anybody named Winifred, tell them they have a cool name. By the time he was 16 years old, he had dropped out of school and become an alcoholic. By 21, Gilbert had already been convicted of theft, assault, car theft, and possession of heroin. His lengthy criminal record dates back to 1952 and included rape, assault, abduction, drunk driving, car theft, and eventually murder. While incarcerated, Gilbert learned the barber's trade and opened Solcan Barber Shop in Vancouver's downtown east side. He had inherited a small sum of money and invested it in the stock market and made lots of money from his investments, enough for him to open up his own barber shop, keep himself absolutely soaked in booze, and afford a good lawyer to bail him out. Put a pin in the lawyer because that guy, ooh, he has some wizardry magic or something. I don't know, but it gets ridiculous. Gilbert was reportedly drinking 50 ounces of vodka per day. In addition to alcohol, he had become addicted to having drunken sex. His targets were most often First Nations women who were from downtown east side of Vancouver. He would find the women in bars and offer to buy them drinks or pay them to have sex with him and invite them to drink with him. In May of 1961, Gilbert was found with a 5-year-old First Nation girl in his car. He was charged with abduction, but never convicted. This is the start of many things that Gilbert's charged with, but never convicted. Later in the year, he held up traffic by threatening to jump off the Lionsgate Bridge while he was drunk. He held he was held in contempt of court for doing the Nazi salute to the judge. Ugh. Gilbert. 2 years later, in 1963, he lured two women to his car, raped them both, and stole some of their possessions. He was later convicted of theft, but acquitted of rape. See the patterns, guys? The patterns are building. His first victim was Ivy Rose in 1965. They went drinking together, and Ivy's nude body was later found in a Vancouver hotel on April 28, 1965. She had a blood alcohol level of 0.51. That is 6 times higher than the legal driving limit of 0.08 and almost double what experts call the danger zone, where you can die of alcohol poisoning. No charges were laid in Ivy's death, and it was later ruled accidental, even though she was seen in his company all night. Days after he had killed Ivy, he would later change his last name from Elsie to Jordan and would go about his life as normal. 4 years later, Gilbert was charged with drunk driving twice, not once, but twice in the same day. It's like police were like, okay, Gilbert, here's some black coffee. Go about your day. We're going to write you a ticket and you can keep driving. What does Gilbert do? Well, he has all that money from the stock fund, continue to drink, and then went driving and got stopped again. Gilbert, Gilbert, Gilbert. Then, another 2 years later, in 1971, he was charged with committing an indecent act in public, but later charges were dropped. Are we surprised? In the city of Mackenzie, BC, in 1973, he was convicted of indecent exposure. Again. In Prince George, BC, in the same year, he was convicted of an indecent assault and sentenced to 2 years less a day. At least Prince George, it stuck. In 1974, prosecutors attempted to have Gilbert registered as a dangerous offender, but then with the help of his lawyer, the request was later denied. Hindsight is 50-50, right? And this lawyer, ooh, wizard. He is a wizard. You'll see his magical powers will come into play. In 1975, he abducted a woman from a mental institute. He would once again find himself in a courtroom. This time, he would face charges including kidnapping and sexual intercourse with a feeble-minded person. He was later sentenced to 26 months. In 1987, another woman was found in a Vancouver hotel. This woman was Vanessa Lee Bunkner. She died after a night of drinking with Gilbert. A month later, yet another woman had died. Edna Shade was found dead in another hotel in Vancouver. And this time, Gilbert's fingerprints were found at the scene. RCMP finally started looking closely at Gilbert. They had set up surveillance and followed his movements. Between October 12th to November 26th of 1987, RCMP watched him search out First Nation women in Vancouver's downtown east side, and on 4 occasions they had rescued women who had been in his company. On November 20th, 1987, there was Rosemary Wilson, who had a blood alcohol content level of 0.52. On November 21st, Verona Charrand, I don't think that I said that right, and I apologize, with a blood alcohol content level of 0.43. On November 26th, Sheila Joe, whose blood alcohol content was not recorded, and on November 26th, Mabel Olson, whose alcohol content level was also not recorded. So it's interesting during this time while he was under watch, all these dates, November 20th, November 21st, November 25th, November 26th, he was technically under surveillance with RCMP. Though they rescued 4 women, which is amazing, it's also mind-blowing how he was able to kill women while under surveillance. And quick fun Canadian side note, those of you who are not familiar, RCMP stands for Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Red jackets, those like beige or super light tan pants, those round, big rimmed hats. Normally they're photographed on horses with some scenic greenery background with a Canadian flag also in the background. Very Canadian. They do not only ride horses, they actually do ride automobiles. Just want to put that out there for those of you who are unfamiliar with the men and women in the red jackets. The RCMP. According to RCMP, during surveillance of Gilbert, he had been heard telling women things like, okay, guys, this gets super cringe. I apologize. Not my words. It's on RCMP's records. It's super cringe. We're gonna get through it together like a band-aid. We're gonna rip it off. I'm gonna try to make this as painless as possible. Bear with me. Are you guys ready? We can do this. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Okay, we need a two to do this. Let's do this super cringe moment. Come on. Okay, we're gonna do this. Focus. All right, we can do this, guys. Have a drink. Down the hatch, baby. $20 if you drink it right down. See, you're a real woman. Finish that drink. Finish that drink down the hatch. Honey, right down. You need another drink? I'll give you $50 if you can take it. I'll give you 10, 20, $50, whatever you want. Come on. I want to see you get it all the way down. You get it right down. I'll give you the $50 and the $13. I'll give you $50. I told you. If you finish that, I'll give you $75. Finish your drink. I'll give you 20. We did it, guys. So cringe. Ugh, gross. Can you imagine somebody going to you and just be like, finish that drink down the hatch, honey, right down. See if you're a real woman. Finish that drink. Have a drink. I'll give you $50. Oh, so gross. Come on, I want to see you get it all down. Ugh. Okay, that's, oh, see, we did it, guys. We did it like a band-aid. Whoop, rip it off. I can't make a band-aid ripping sound. Maybe I should have gotten a band-aid and do some ASMR for you guys, but we did it. Yay. Gilbert was arrested for poisoning a woman. When police entered a hotel room, the woman was unconscious and he was on top of her, caught forcing vodka down her throat. They don't release a name of who this victim was, but and it's unclear if she was part of the four that RCMP managed to rescue or if she was an additional fifth victim. During his trial, the Crown presented evidence that he was connected to 6 other women's deaths. Mary Johnson on November 30th, 1980. Her blood alcohol level was 0.34. Barbara Paul on September 11th, her blood alcohol level was 0.41. Mary Johns on July 30th, 1982, her blood alcohol level was 0.76, and she was found in Gilbert's barber shop. Put a pin on how Mary Johns was found in his barber shop. She is not the only one. This is where we're at the peak of the roller coaster, guys. Okay, we're up there. We're waiting to fall. Get that stomach in your throat feeling. This gets wild, and it blew my mind, and hopefully it'll blow your guys' mind. And you'll be sitting here like, what? What? All right. Patricia Thomas on December 15th, 1984, with a blood alcohol level of 0.51, found in his barber shop. That is Mary and Patricia. Patricia Andrew on June 28th, 1985, with a blood alcohol level of 0.79. Yet again, barber shop. Victim number 3, and Vera Harry on November 19th, 1986, with a blood alcohol level of 0.4. Wild, guys. During his trial, Gilbert was quoted as saying, "They were all on their last legs. I didn't give a damn who I was with. I mean, we're all dying sooner or later." He paid his victims to drink with him, offering them money if they could chug a bottle or two of alcohol. And when they eventually passed out, he would continue to pour liquor down their throats and rape them as they died. Vanessa Bunkner's father would later say about Gilbert, "He poisoned them first, then has sex with them. No parent should ever have to go through this. He's a worm. He's a lowlife. He should be squashed, just like he squashed a lot of these girls' lives. After 6 years in prison for murdering Vanessa Bunkner, Gilbert was released. Gilbert was found guilty of manslaughter in the death of Vanessa Bunkner. He was sentenced to 15, but again was released in 6. And his sentence was reduced to 9 years on an appeal, and again got out in 6 for murder. He was released on probation after the 6 years, and it is unclear how he wasn't charged earlier when the 3 women were found dead in his barber shop within a 3-year span. He didn't report the women as dead until he talked to his what? That's right, guys. His wizard lawyer. His lawyer is like one of those lawyers that when you watch like those TV shows and the clients, the high profile clients, keep getting away with stuff, and you're sitting there like, this doesn't happen in real life. Well, apparently it did, or still does. I don't know. But Gilbert made enough money to pay this man to get him off, and basically a slap on the wrist for Vanessa's murder, which he should have spent life in prison. It's not fair to her family. I digress. It wouldn't be long before he was in trouble again. And in June of 2000, he was charged with sexual assault, assault and negligence causing bodily harm, and possession of a substance. What was that substance, you're wondering? That's right, alcohol. Wild. Gilbert also tried to change his name to Paul Pierce. At the time, fingerprinting and criminal record checks were not required in British Columbia to have your name changed, but the law changed while he was in the process, and he would end up dropping his application. I think that's for the best, because imagine what more he would have gotten away with if he was able to change his name. In 2002, once again, Gilbert was again arrested. This man is like Houdini. Breach of probation for drinking and being in the presence of a woman while in the possession of alcohol. He was sentenced to 15 months in jail and 3-year probation. That lawyer, guys, that lawyer that he hired in the early 80s, maybe 60s, I'm not sure on the timeline. Okay. We have descended down the roller coaster, just so you guys know. We've descended. Now we're back up there. Back up with the roller coaster. Bellies in our throats. This would not be the last time Gilbert violated his probation. We're going to fast forward to 2004. He was found in violation of probation while in Saskatchewan. For those of you who don't know much about Saskatchewan, neither do I. Don't feel bad. Saskatchewan is considered the prairies, and I think possibly the flattest province in Canada. Random side note about Saskatchewan. Apparently, they had a house that went missing. It was on a trailer, and the house went missing. The RCMP couldn't find it. I don't know if they ever found that house. Somebody let me know down in the comments. Did they find that house in Saskatchewan? Was it ever found? I don't know how a house goes missing in what is considered a very flat province where people say that you can stand in the middle of the province and see everything. It's that flat. One day, I would like to go to Saskatchewan, but not during the winter because Canadian winters are brutal. He was binge drinking at a hotel with a woman named Barb Buckley. Barb was taken to the hospital by hotel staff after she was found in a very bad condition. Gilbert was later acquitted of all charges in 2005. Wizard lawyer. That's all I gotta say. After he was released, RCMP would issue a public warning. Gilbert was the first person convicted in Canada to use alcohol as a murder weapon. It just wasn't seen at this point, and most likely the main reason why his murders weren't viewed as murders in the eyes of the law. Most of his victims were alcoholics, and it was assumed at the time that his victims' alcoholism finally caught up with them. He would later die in 2006 at the age of 74, and little can be found regarding his death and what the cause of death was. But I say good riddance. This world is a safer place without people like Gilbert Paul Jordan. He was a piece of shit human, and what he did to those women were wrong. They didn't deserve it, alcoholics or not, women with addictions, mental health issues. He took advantage of them, and I'm glad the laws have changed. Let me know your thoughts about this case. And that, my wonderful friends, is a story of the boozing barber Gilbert Paul Jordan. If you enjoyed this episode of Verona Investigates, don't forget to like, follow, and rate this podcast wherever you listen. You can find us on the socials for updates, episode content, and share your thoughts and theories. Your support means the world and keeps the investigation going. Thanks for listening, and always stay curious. Bye.